last couple of weeks, I'm kind of opening this whole thing up with talking about some of the things that have happened to other people or that have happened in history and that kind of stuff. I want to shift it up a little bit. A couple of years ago, it's actually been a little over 5 years ago now, Raquel and I felt God calling us to make a change, calling us to lead Waycross, really, and to go help some friends with a church plant in North Carolina. And we started the ball rolling. We started praying about it. We started looking at what it would take to get there. There's no way. And so we just prayed and said, okay, God, you're going to have to make this happen, because if this is where you want us, if this is what you want us to do, there's absolutely no way we can do it. We don't have the money to get there. It's going to cost X number of dollars. And it was a fairly significant amount of money. And we were praying about it, and while we're praying about it, Raquel gets a message on her phone. And it's from some friends of ours, who shall remain nameless and anonymous, because they wanted to remain that way. But they texted her and messaged her and said, you know, we have a heart for what you guys are doing. We love to see people step out doing what God wanted to do. And we came into some money through some things that have happened, and we want to pay for all of your moving expenses. Wow. Okay. So we started the process. We got everything rolling. We got going, and we moved up there. We got there, and we went and stayed with some friends the first night we were there, and then we stayed in the hotel. Stayed in the hotel, and went the next morning to go to the house that we were going to be staying in, which happened to be a parsonage of another church in the area that we weren't even going to be working with. And we walk in there, and it's this massive house. It's like 3,000 square feet on top, and then there's an underground level that was their garage and all that kind of stuff. It was the same size as the house, and we're looking at it, and we sit down in the living room on the floor, and we're looking around going, what have we done? We've lost our ever-loving minds. Oh my gosh, we're just in tears, like, what are we going to do? How in the world is this going to work? And so finally we're like, okay, let's just go get some lunch, and then we'll come back, and maybe we'll just have some clarity. Maybe we're just overwhelmed. And so we go to this little burger place, and we sit down and we're eating, and one of the servers comes over, she's talking to us, and we just, somehow I don't know, we have this knack of when we go somewhere, the servers tell us their life story. And they tend to talk to us, and we filled up these conversations, and they last for well over an hour. I mean, we talk the whole time we're there. And so she's back and forth from the table, and we're telling her our story, and she's like, oh my goodness. Well, we're eating our lunch, and she comes back over to us about halfway through, and she squats down next to the table. She's got her arms up on the counter, and she's like, have you ever been in a place where you just know that God has told you to do something, and you know that He's not going to let it rest until you do it? Look where we're at. Yeah, we've been there. And she says, well, I just want you to know that my husband and I are going to be praying for you. And, oh, thank you. And she said, and I just wanted y'all to know that. Wow, that really means a lot. Thank you so much. And then so we finish eating, and we go up to the register to pay. And the girl there at the register, we go to pay. She said, no, your meal's already been taken care of. What do you mean it's been taken care of? Who took care of it? She said, well, the owners took care of it. We've never even met the owners. She said, oh yeah, she's right there. Wow. And then in the midst of that, she walks over, and she's like, we also want you to have this. She handed us some money to help us be able to go to the grocery store and get groceries and that kind of stuff, to be able to start off on the right foot. You know, there are things that happen in our life and in our world that we just can't explain. We don't know why they happen. We don't know when we know when they happen, but we don't know why they happened or what caused it. And we tend to call those things miracles, miraculous moments that we just can't wrap our head around. There's got to be some reason for why it happened, but we just can't seem to place it. And when they do happen, it blows us away, and we start. It marks us. It puts a point in history that we will always remember, and it puts a point in history that we will always talk about, and we will always share the story of. And we will tell everybody we come in contact with about them, because it's always something that changes our life or impacts us on a level that goes deeper than just the everyday normal stuff. And then what happens is we start telling people about it, and the more miraculous it seems, the more difficult it is for people to believe it. And because we look at it and we say, well, there's no way that really happened. And we say, well, it was a miracle. And of course, they look at us, they think of us, well, you're a Christian, you're just using that term because it's in the Bible. But in reality, the word miracle is never used in the Bible. There's actually 4 different little Greek words that are used throughout the Bible where we put the word miracle that means a little bit different things, whether it's different types of works or wonders or some sort of miraculous power that's used, or like we see in John chapter 20, verse 30, where John says, now Jesus did many other signs and wonders, many other signs in the presence of the disciples, which are not written in this book. He uses the word for signs, and that tends to be the most of what's used through here. And he uses the term signs because why? Signs are used to move us from point A to point B. They move us along a path. They help us see where we're supposed to be going, help us see the things that we're supposed to notice to get there. They give us direction and information about what we're seeing. They inform us. And when it comes to signs that we see in the Bible, it informs our belief. Because we always will base the belief about something on the information that we have at hand. And so we started this whole thing off by looking at one of the very first things that Jesus ever did. And it was one that in all honesty, kind of makes Baptists like me and like you a little bit uncomfortable, because he goes to a wedding and they're completely out of wine. And he takes these massive pitchers of water and turns them into wine. And then it's so mind-blowing that in John chapter 2, verse 11, John says, this is the first of his signs. This whole turning water into wine, this is the first of his signs. Jesus did it at Cana in Galilee and manifested his glory. And his disciples, the people that were walking with him and trying to become mirror copies of him, believed in him. Why did they believe? Well, in the first week we looked at it and said that seeing is believing. In order for us to believe something, a lot of times we have to see it. But when we see the impossible happen, what do? We tend to take a step back and go, well, wait a minute, that's not possible. There's got to be some kind of trick to it. There's got to be something that made my mind was playing tricks on me. It never actually happened the way that I'm remembering it, because it's not possible. And so we pull back because why? We know better. Because we live in a world where we know how nature works, we know how the body works, we know how God works. Or at least we think we do. And so in the second week, we looked at a story where Jesus literally climbs into a fisherman's boat, uninvited, so he can talk to the people there. And then he looks at the fisherman and he says, okay, listen, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take your boat out into the deep water. I want you to cast your nets out for a catch. And here this fisherman who knows how it's supposed to happen looks at him and says, no, we've been already at this all night long. We're tired. It's not how it works. But because Jesus is a rabbi, which is basically a rock star in their society, he says, okay, I'll do it. And so they go out and they cast the nets over and they catch way more fish than they know what to do with, and the nets start breaking. And then at the end of it, in Luke chapter 5, they get in, they come in off, and Peter gets down to his feet and he says, you need to back away from me because I am just a worthless man. But in verse 11 it says, when they brought their boats to land, they left everything and followed him. They left everything, because sometimes we have to remember that it takes action to actually see God move. Had they not actually gone out into the water and done what Jesus asked them to do, they would have never experienced God move the way that he wanted to see him move. Then last week we looked at a guy that is very, very familiar to us because he got to hear a word that none of us really like, and it was the word no. None of us likes to hear the word no. When we don't get what we want, we get frustrated, we get aggravated, we get sometimes we even get a little sassy. We try to assert our authority. And we see this guy, he comes in, he's basically an aristocrat. He comes in and his son is dying, and he goes to Jesus and says, Jesus, You're going to come with me to my house, and you're going to make my kid better. And Jesus says something to him that just absolutely blows us away. He says, listen, if you don't see signs and wonders, you won't believe. If you don't see me do the things, you won't believe I can do the things. And the guy gets aggravated. He gets in his face and he says, you're coming with me. And Jesus says, just go about your business. Go about your day. Your son's going to be better. We know what that feels like. And we get aggravated and frustrated, but the way that we respond to those moments means everything. So what did this guy do? He believed. And he went on his way. And as he was going, his servants came to him and said, your son is getting better. And he asked him, he says, well, when did it happen? And they told him, and we saw in John chapter 4, verse 53, it says, the father knew that that was the hour when Jesus had said to him, your son will live. And he and all of his household believed it. But he believed because he saw after he had actually trusted. And we left the entire thing saying, sometimes you just got to make the choice to believe before you see. You know, we all get to that place that this guy was at. We all find ourselves at some point in our life in that place where he was. Things feel hopeless. We open our eyes and we look around and we can't see any way around it. Nothing that we try is working. We put all the effort in. We just can't figure a way out of the hole that we are sitting in. We try everything. But we end up falling short. We try to climb out of the pit and we grab the lip and our fingers slip and we fall. And it's over and over again. And we reach that place where we just say, can't do it. But what if I told you? What if I told you that it doesn't actually have to stay that way? What if I told you that there is a way to get out of it? There is a way to pull yourself out of that place where you find yourself. If you have a Bible, I want you to go ahead and turn to John chapter 5. Okay? John chapter 5. This is picking it up after the wedding in Cana. This is happening after all of that stuff has happened. And now we're moving into this new place, okay? If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. I'm going to take my time reading. John chapter 5, we're going to start in verse 1. After this, okay, this is after he's left Cana. This is after the wedding. After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Okay, so he's left, he's gone to a new place. Now, there was in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic was called Bethesda, which has 5 roofed colonnades. And in these lay a multitude of invalids, the blind, the lame, and the paralyzed. Okay? Now, here we go again. Same thing as we've seen every week. We have specific people, specific place, specific time. John writes these things out so that they can be verified. They can come back to it later and say, here's the deal, here's what's going on, okay? So, now picture this for a second, okay? This is kind of the scene that John's painted here, okay? You've got an outdoor pool, okay? Just for argument's sake, we'll say it's kind of like a swimming pool, okay? So you've got this outdoor swimming pool surrounded by all of these covered pavilions, okay? It's kind of like having a cabana set up. You've got these poles, and now they've got sunshades over them. And underneath all of these things, there's just tons and tons of the sick and the needy just laying there, waiting. And what are they waiting for? Well, they came waiting to experience God. Now, depending on which translation of the Bible you're reading or you're looking at right now, you may notice something interesting. Okay? In the version that I teach from, the ESV, it goes verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, verse 5. Now, some of you are looking at, whoa, I never noticed that before. Well, here's why. Later on, there was one other little thing that was added in there that the people in this time period would have already known. Okay? And what it was this explanation of what they were doing, because at this time, they believed that periodically an angel would come down and stir the waters. And the first person that got into the water would be healed. Okay? So this is the lens through which this story is being told. Okay? So these people are sitting and they're experiencing this, they're there, they know what's going to happen. Okay? Now, picking up in verse 5, it says, one man was there who had been an invalid for 38 years. 38 years. Most of us have a bad week. And we get frustrated and say enough's enough. This guy's been dealing with this for 38 years. So he is like up to here and then some probably. But it says when Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been there for a long time, he said to him, do you want to be healed? We have no idea how long this guy's been there. All we know is it's been a long time. He's been laying there. Jesus asks him this kind of question, this kind of an interesting question. He doesn't say, do you mind if I heal you? He asks him, he says, do you want to be healed? This would be one of those questions that's kind of like, you know, you're looking at it in front of you. Imagine for a second. You're a kid at a birthday party. And you love chocolate cake. And there's a monstrous plate of chocolate cake sitting in front of you. There's a name tag on it that has your name on it. You look at it and you're sitting there and you've got drool coming out of your mouth. Your stomach is going. And the master of the party comes to you and says, hey, you want some cake? It's kind of a goofy question. Of course you want cake. Of course this guy wants to be healed. Of course. Jesus doesn't say, hey, can I heal you? Like, I see the situation you're in. I see what's going on. So can I just heal you real quick? Instead he asks him, do you want to be healed? Do you want to be healed? It goes on in verse 7. It says, the sick man answered him, sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I'm going, another steps down before me. His irritation, his frustration, his aggravation pops up. He says, listen, yes, I want to be healed. Yes, but I can't, there's nothing I can do about it. I can't do anything about it. There's absolutely, every time I try to pull myself into the water, I can't get in there before the rest of these people jump in who are in better shape than I am. And I am tired. I'm exhausted. I'm done. So do I want to be healed? Yes, I want to be healed. How many of you have ever found yourself in a situation that you just can't seem to get out of? And somebody looks at you and says, here, let me get you out of that. They look at you and they say, hey, do you want to get out of that? Do you want to get out of there? Well, yeah, I want to get out of there. How many times have we said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And we do good for a little while, then we fall right back into it. We all know people who say they want something, and then the minute it's offered to them, they turn and they run. They ignore it. They step back from it because, well, that's a little bit more uncomfortable than I really want it to be. It's a little bit harder than I thought it would be. So Jesus does something that only Jesus can do. He interacts with him on a level that only the creator of the universe can do. He asks him first, says, do you want to be healed? Yes, I want to be healed. He didn't ask him to prove it. He just said, okay, fine. You want to be healed? All right, here's what we're going to do. Verse 8, Jesus said to him, get up. Get up. Take your bed and walk. Get up. Take the mat you're on and leave. Just go and walk away. At which point the guy probably looked at him like, what? Do you see me? Jesus said, get up. Take your mat and walk. The Bible says, and at once, immediately, the minute he said it, the man was healed. He took up his bed and he walked. this goes beyond everything that we know. This guy was there at that specific place because he had watched what had happened. He was there at the pool of Bethesda because he had seen people go into the waters and been stirred up. He believed that he would be healed if he got into it. Which completely went against everything that the known world says. He wanted to experience God in a way that would leave him changed forever, so he decided to put action behind it. He took himself to a place where he would have to, well, I say took himself, he had somebody take him there. And he tried to move himself into that place where the healing would happen. Now, he had not in any way, shape, or form seen with his own eyes that he was going to be healed. Jesus had not done to him what Jesus had done to the other. So what makes this story different? A lot of times for us to be able to experience God the way that we need to experience him. Meaning that when we need things to be different, when we want things to be different, we have to reach that point in our lives where we are just done. We are just done living the way that we're living. We are done experiencing what we've been experiencing. We are done being a slave to our sins, to our passions, to our addictions. This is the heartbeat behind what happens here. This guy was absolutely fed up with his current situation. And he believed that the angel of the Lord who was going to come and stir the waters could fix it. But what he didn't count on was that the creator of the universe was going to walk through the door. See, a lot of us, we walk into a church and we see, and this is kind of your pool of Bethesda. You walk in with your pet sins, the little things that you do that kind of nudge you away from where God wants you. And I'm talking to myself here too, okay? So this is not me just targeting anybody. There's nothing specific going on in the church that I'm aware of that I'm calling out. This is just human nature. We walk through the doors of a church and we do things. We sing the song, we read the Bible, we say the prayers, we wear the clothes. Because we think that when God moves in this place, we're going to walk out changed. And we leave it at that. Never expecting that the God of the universe is actually going to walk through the doors. We want to talk about something miraculous that happens. The most miraculous thing that ever happened on the face of this planet happened over 2,000 years ago. When a man was nailed to a cross, breathed his last, was buried in a borrowed tomb. 3 days later, took his second first breath. Nothing more miraculous on the face of this planet has ever happened. It's because of that miracle that we can sit here today and know what it looks like to be rescued from being done. Jesus lays it out for us in the very end of this week, talks to the man and tells him what to do. He gives us this wake-up call. He said, okay, first thing, get up. Get up. Change your perspective. This guy, for so long, he'd been laying there on his back, his belly, his side, whatever, and all he could see was that he was at ground level. He couldn't get any lower. But he looked at him and he said, get up. See things from my perspective. See things the way that I see them. We look at ourselves and we see the sins that we have in our lives. We see our shortcomings and we go, there's no way God can love us. There's no way God can love me. Look at the things that I've done. Look at the things I've put my family through. Look at the things I put my kids through. Look at the things I put my family through. And my friends. You don't know me. No, Jesus does. He says, get up out of the self-wallowing and see things from my perspective. See yourself the way I see you. Get up. If we want to experience the miraculous of Jesus, you've got to stand up. You've got to get up from where you're at and see things the way He sees them. And He tells the guy, He says, take your mat. Get up, change your perspective, now take your mat with you. Why did He tell him to take his mat? Why in the world? It seems like such a trivial thing. He doesn't need it anymore. He's able to walk away. So important because He says, listen, take everything about this life with you and go get rid of it. Don't leave it here as a plan B. Don't leave it here as something that you're going to be tempted to come back to. Put it away. Jesus says, change your perspective. Quit looking at yourself through your eyes and what you think you are worthy of and capable of, and see yourself the way I see you. As someone who was worth my time and energy. This is the thing about this story. Jesus never went anywhere by accident. Jesus came to this place specifically, I believe, because He knew He was going to run into this guy. So He says, listen, get up, change your perspective, see yourself the way I see you, and take your plan B with you and go get rid of it because you don't need it anymore. Don't leave yourself something to come back to. It's like, it's my way. No highway option. So now get up, take your plan B, and walk. Why walk? Because walking away and then stepping away from his current reality into a new reality. And then walking away from where he was into where he was going to be. It seems like such a small thing. If you've ever had to walk away from something that has bound you up for your entire life, you take that first step, you take that second step, you take that third step. It's a hard thing to do. But eventually you turn around and you look over your shoulder and you realize, whoa, where'd it go? This is the message of the cross. This is the picture of what salvation looks like. We've said over and over and over again, there's a passage of Scripture that we read all the time and we talk about it all the time in church. It's one of the most famous passages of Scripture ever. And we all know it by heart. John 3:16. Say it with me. For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. We read that and we're like, oh yes, there's so much hope there. There's so much, yes. That is the picture of salvation. But we miss the depth of the word believe. The word believe there, it says that whoever believes in Him would never perish. It means, okay, if you believe this, if this is what you wrap your head around, then get up, change your perspective, because you believe that you are somebody way different than what you see yourself as. Take your mat, because you realize now that Jesus has set you free from what you were going through, and walk. Put action to what you believe, because if you don't really believe something, you stay put. When you believe it, you put action to it. Now we read this passage of Scripture and it's great, but we stop short. See, that verse in and of itself, by itself, is a great thing. But there's two more verses behind it. that are really where the power of it comes in. Because God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but in order that the world might be saved through him. He didn't send Jesus into the world to say, you know what, you guys are terrible, you're horrible people. You're horrible people, you're doing it all wrong. No. So he sent him so that the world, the people groups, could be saved through him. Could set us free. That's what that word saved means. Salvation means to be set free from, to be rescued from, to be released from. Jesus didn't come to bind us up more and more. He said, no, he came to set us free. He came to set you free. It says, whoever believes in him is not condemned, but whoever does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only Son of God. If you believe, if you get up, you take your mat, and you walk away from where you are, you're saved. You are set free. You are rescued. And you allow the Creator of the universe to do the work that he came to do and rescue you from the things that you are just done over. In order for things to be different, you have to reach the point where you are done with trying to do it yourself. That you are done with trying to fix it yourself. You've got to reach the point where you are done wallowing in your own self-pity. And allow the Creator of the universe to come in and rescue you. Not physically, spiritually. Because until something happens on the inside that changes the way you approach life, you will always end up in the same places. Every time. There's no way around it. Because what we believe dictates what actions we take. Eventually, you have to come to a place where you are willing to take and change the way that you believe about Jesus. And allow yourself to no longer become a slave to the way that you see yourself. That you are no longer a slave to the fear of the unknown. That you are no longer a slave to the things that you've allowed to bind you up and hold you down. Why? Because Jesus literally walked through the doors of time and space to our physical world to rescue us and save us from ourselves. It's a strange thought, but it's the most miraculous thing that's ever happened on the face of this planet. So what are you going to do with it? See, I can tell you about it until I'm blue in the face. I can tell you about it until everybody's starving, hungry, and ready to go to lunch. I can tell you about it over and over and over and over again. Jesus could have looked at that guy and said, get up, take your mat, and walk. No, seriously, I'm telling you, get up. He could have said it over and over and over and over and over again. But until he made the choice to get up, nothing would have happened. So what does it look like for you? Some of you are sitting in this room and maybe you've been Jesus followers your whole life, or at least you've said you are. And over and over and over again, you find yourself in the same position over and over and over again. Here's my challenge to you. Get up and take the mat and throw it away. The reason you keep going back to it is because it's still an option. Get rid of it. Maybe you're not a Jesus follower. Here's my challenge to you. Just get up. I would love for you to take your mat and walk today, but I understand that's not a realistic goal for some of you. Your first step has got to be to just get up and change your perspective and see yourself the way that Jesus sees you. Because until that happens, you won't be able to take your mat and walk. Because you're still too focused on what you think about yourself. In just a second, the band's going to come up and they're going to play one last song. And here's what I want you to do. Whether you're a Jesus follower or not, I want you to ask God to change your perspective. Start there. And for the next week solid, God, change my perspective. I want to see myself the way you see me. Then we can start working on the take your mat on. Because it's impossible to take up your mat while you're still sitting on it.
I think Tracy may
What are you going to do with it? Are you done enough to actually get up? Father, thank you. Thank you for loving us. Thank you for challenging us and pushing us to more than what we are. Father, I pray for those that are in this room that are still on the fence about what they believe about you. God, I pray that you would just open their eyes and let them see themselves from your perspective. Through the eyes of love that sent Jesus to die for you. Father, for those that are in here that know you, that feel like they just keep running back and back and back, and I pray that you give them the courage to do whatever it takes to finally pick up their mat. Father, I pray that you'll start something on the inside of each and every one of us that will change us and bring us closer to you. That you will do something miraculous